This is reposted.
Amy Balliett owned her first business when she was 17, a candy store and an ice cream parlor. We got to get into that. She's had a successful run of the marketing realm and then pivoted to the world of visual communication design. She is the founder and CEO of Killer Visual Strategies, which just so happens to be the name of her book, Killer Visual Strategies. Engage any audience, improve comprehension, and get amazing results using visual communication. Amy, lots to get into. Let's start with a quote from you. Here it is. Our ability to quickly process visual information ensures that we often can't stop ourselves from subconsciously judging a book by its cover. So are you saying that even in the year 2020, and as smart as I am, I still have my eyeballs tricked by the fancy, shiny objects out there?
I'm saying that not only is that true, but it's true even more today than it was even 20 years ago, because we have so much content coming at us from every direction now that subconsciously, I mean, our brain kind of just reverts to our base instincts at that point. It's kind of fight or flight. We can either fight through all that content, or we can run away from the content that we're not attracted to and just pay attention to the content that attracts us.
Are you saying that like we've adapted as a human race because 20 years ago, if we got hit with this wave of information that we're getting now, it wouldn't land? Is like, have we adapted to it, or is it just there's more of it and that's how it's happening?
There's more of it, number one, but number two, 20 years ago, the technology wasn't there to deliver content in multiple different types of media. So, you think about the internet 20 years ago, it was all text-based. Everybody who was starting to adopt it, they're all early adopters. People who were really getting into the internet 20 years ago, maybe were jumping onto chat tools, but they weren't browsing a bunch of websites. 20 years later, you land on any site, you have video as one of the first things that you see. In fact, Cisco suggests that I think it's something like 84% of internet traffic is video traffic first, which means the very first thing people are seeing is a video online above anything else. So, I mean, we've just moved to this world where there's so much entertaining media to take in information. There's not just text-based information anymore. And as a result, we're finding that what's engaging is the content that isn't text-based. It's more the content that is visually based, but that visual then means we are considering the quality of that visual content when we look at it. It's no longer, hey, is this well written? It's, is this well designed? Is this quality enough where I'm going to give it my attention and give it my time? So yeah, we have very discerning eyes, and we've just become critics of media all around the world.
Okay, Amy, I feel a little self-conscious because as I started prepping for this interview, I started feeling subconscious of my email signature because I was like, oh crap, she's a visual strategist. She probably tore it apart in her head, or me being this interview in my closet, which I'll get to in a second. So here's the thing. What are like everyday mistakes the average Joe makes, whether it's sending an invite for a birthday party or emails? Like, what are average mistakes visually that people make?
So some of the biggest average mistakes include people taking a bunch of different types of stock imagery and combining that to create a single design. So you have all of these conflicting illustration styles or conflicting photo styles in a single design. And the person who put that together probably put so much time and effort into it that they're no longer a good judge of the quality of it, because their time was put into it, and therefore their time is valuable. It's a valuable piece of content. So not having other people check your content, that's a big mistake. You should always have a second set of eyes on your visual content so that you can have somebody truly critique it. Make sure that person is honest and not just trying to make you feel good. Mixing a bunch of different illustration styles, like I just said, or just relying too heavily on stock photography is also a big problem. We aren't actually big fans of stock photography. When you think of Gen X down to Millennial and Gen Z, stock photography is not landing anymore. So relying too heavily on stock photography can be a really big problem. And then one of my favorite rules that I always love to say is always think about context. It's a con when there's too much text. And that's a big one. People are always slapping a whole bunch of text next to a visual saying, I have visual content, when in reality, what you have is maybe a well-designed article.
I really like that. I wrote that down. Actually, it's the name of chapter 4, the always think about context. And I heard you, I think it was in an interview, you were talking about imagery is going to replace the text-based SEO, and Google is moving forward to like searching quality images. Can you talk about, do you know how that works or what the future of SEO is going to be?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Google will always care about quality text-driven content. That's always going to be important. But Google's always looking for ways to improve the user experience. So when they put their algorithm together and when they're always tweaking that algorithm, they're saying, what are people demanding today and how do we deliver that high demand content? And so they're starting to use Google Visual Search as a way of letting the AI determine if the visuals on your website are high quality enough. So they're looking for things like, does this visual content all match the same aesthetic direction? Or are these a bunch of different aesthetic styles, yet the company itself shouldn't have different aesthetic styles? For instance, if you're looking at an agency's website, they're going to have a bunch of different styles of content on their site because they're showing off their portfolio. But let's say you're looking at the website of a SaaS company. Well, you don't want a bunch of different illustration styles for that site. You want one unique brand narrative on there. So you want one unique look and feel. And Google's going to be considering that. They're also going to consider, is it custom? Is it content that is not reused everywhere else on the web, but instead it's original to the brand that's putting it out there? And this is on top of so many other factors that Google considers. Google's AI is really trying to focus on this idea of EAT, which is expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. And really, if you focus on making sure that your content carries those things forward, you're going to be in a pretty good place from a search perspective. But if you also meet the demand where 91% of today's consumers demand visual content as their first form of information delivery, if you meet that demand, Google will reward you. Also, it helps you rank better in Google image search. It helps you rank in YouTube, which is owned by Google and the second largest search engine online. So it helps you rank in multiple channels beyond just your website. And if you're using that content on a bunch of different social channels as well, Google is going to recognize that and reward you over time.
So I have a bone to pick with you.
Go for it.
The beginning of your book says you're the accidental agency, and from your Wikipedia page, you completed your 4-year undergrad in 2 years and then moved on. And you said the first lesson learned, being in the right place at the right time, is luck, not skill. I disagree with that, because if you weren't who you were, like maybe you were in the right place at the right time, but I think luck is when preparation meets opportunity. You took advantage of the opportunity. You took feedback constructively and you grew from that. You said you had that tweet that was like, this is not an infographic, and you move forward. So can you talk about, I don't think it's all luck. I think you were the right person for it.
I appreciate that. I mean, that's actually a fantastic compliment. I'm really thankful for that. I think that when I look at how Killer started, I didn't plan to start Killer. It was actually a year into a completely different business model. And so the fact that we kind of pivoted into Killer, it felt so accidental. It felt so unintentional. And I look into the first couple of years of the business, because let me tell you, our original business model was no clients, no employees, just be an affiliate. You can't actually run a business around no clients and no employees, just so you know. You have to have at least one or the other.
Okay.
And so, you know, when we pivoted into a service-based agency, which was so opposite of that original plan, we didn't plan properly. A couple of years in, we realized, wow, we never really put a mission, vision, and values together. So we're just kind of hiring people willy-nilly and not giving them any vision to lead them by. We didn't put a lot of intentional focus on building the right culture at first. We just lucked out that we hired freaking awesome people. I mean, my CMO, he started with us November 1st, 2010. So he's been with us from the very, very beginning. You look at my entire executive team, and it's people who've been with us from the beginning, who started as interns, who, you know, we built up into these executive positions. But it was all focused on reacting instead of being proactive. Once we were able to stop and be proactive, that was when a real company was formed. And I think that the first couple of years, we were more chasing our tails, trying to catch up to where the market was pushing us.
Okay, Amy, let's address the elephant literally in my closet. We're recording this over Zoom. What killer visual strategies am I throwing off with the shirts? And then, of course, Andrew looks like he's in the latrine. He's got the one picture there. What killer visual strategies are we throwing off here?
Well, luckily, there's two ways to look at killer visual strategies and killer visual content. The fact of the matter is there's a time when being homespun and really showing off who you are is appropriate. And we're in that time right now. I mean, the fact is people want to be welcomed into your household right now. If you were asking me this question before the pandemic, I might say at that point, hey, maybe adding a green screen behind you and a little extra production would be great. But now we've been in this world of Zoom. And what's so interesting about it is, rather than us kind of getting to a point where we're just fed up with Zoom, instead, we're loving the intimacy that it's bringing us. It's giving us opportunities to step into each other's homes and to really get to know people beyond just who you talk to on the phone. I was on the phone on a Zoom call with a client the other day, and I got to see all the board games that she had behind her, because she just had this shelf stacked of board games. And I thought, oh man, you're just as much of a nerd as I am. Let's play some Zoom Settlers next time we talk, you know? And so I think that for this medium, it's actually essential to be as authentic as you can be. And that's exactly what you're doing.
I hear what you're saying. Our podcast was in the right place at the right time, and this has been luck.
Yep. There you go. Except, like you said, you have to be the ones who have to recognize luck and turn it into something great.
Don't worry,
So
Amy. We're going to come out of the closet. We're going to come out of the closet eventually. Don't worry. The book is Killer Visual Strategies. You can find Amy on the Twitters at Amy Balliett, Balliett. Amy, you're a gem. Thank you for hanging with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.